Welcome to today's explainer. For lesson 4.1, we are tackling a question that seems super simple on the surface. What actually makes something alive? We're going to nail down the absolute characteristics of living organisms. And as you'll see, the line between a living, breathing creature and a highly complex machine is fascinatingly strict in the world of biology. Okay, let's dive right into this. Is a car truly alive? Now, your immediate instinct is probably to laugh and say, of course not, no way. But let's just pause for a second and actually look at the facts. How do you definitively prove to someone that a car isn't a living organism, especially when you really think about what it does every single day? Because if you compare a car to a living organism, it actually mimics life incredibly well. Think about it. Cars need fuel and oxygen to operate, right? Inside the engine, that fuel and oxygen provide the energy to make the whole thing move. And does it produce waste? Yep, the engine produces waste gases, including carbon dioxide, which just get pushed right out the exhaust. It even has sensitivity. Think of all the modern cars with sensors that can tell when it's getting dark outside and automatically flip on the headlights. So it eats, it breathes, it moves, it makes waste, and it senses its environment. So why on earth isn't it alive? Well, to solve this mystery, we have to shift into detective mode and look at the 7 rules of life. Biologists have a very specific, absolutely crucial set of criteria. To prove something is truly a living organism, it must pass a strict 7-part biological checklist. If an object fails even one of these 7 rules, it is entirely disqualified, not alive. Now, what's really interesting about this is how clear it becomes when we look at nature. To ground our concepts today, we're going to use this amazing polar bear family as our indisputable proof of life. Over the next few steps, we're going to put these bears head-to-head with our car to see exactly where the biological checklist leaves the machine in the dust. All right, let's start with our first chunk of characteristics. Section 1, covering energy, fuel, and waste. Every living thing needs to process energy, much like a car's engine needs gas. But the biological way of doing it? Totally unique. The very first rule is nutrition. All organisms absolutely need to take in food for fuel. Plants feed themselves by pulling off this incredible feat of capturing sunlight through photosynthesis to literally make their own food. Animals, like our magnificent polar bears, take in their nutrition by eating meat. A car takes in gasoline, sure, but biological nutrition is about taking in raw materials to actually build and maintain the organism's own cells. A car's fuel pump simply doesn't do that. So, the crucial point is how that fuel is actually used, which brings us to rule number 2. Respiration. Now, this is often confused with just breathing in and out, but biologically speaking, respiration is the complex process where food is broken down right inside the cells to provide them with energy. A car engine combusts fuel and oxygen to forcefully push metal pistons, but biological respiration is happening on a microscopic, cellular level, just to keep living tissue alive. And of course, once you process all that fuel, you've got leftovers. So rule 3 is excretion. This is the process of getting rid of waste materials. Just like our car gives off carbon dioxide in its exhaust, living organisms excrete waste substances too. When animals breathe out, they are actually excreting carbon dioxide that was produced by their cells during respiration. Okay, let's move on and see how this builds. Section 2 focuses on movement and sensitivity. We've handled how they get energy, but how does an organism actually interact with its physical world? Rule 4 is movement. Yes, obviously a car moves, but biological movement is defined strictly as living organisms being able to actively change the shape and position of their bodies. A car rolls on wheels simply because an engine forces axles to turn. An organism, on the other hand, initiates its own movement internally, shifting its muscles and skeletal structure to navigate wherever it wants to go. Which leads us to exactly why they move. Look at the adult polar bear here again. Polar bears can deeply sense things in their environment. For example, they are incredibly adept at using their noses to catch the scent of meat from miles and miles away. And this brings us right to Rule 5, sensitivity. Living organisms are sensitive to changes going on around them, and they actually react to those changes. A car might have a mechanical sensor that turns a light on when the sun goes down, but it isn't truly aware, right? It isn't biologically sensitive to its surroundings. An organism receives stimuli like sight or a faint smell and organically reacts just to survive. Now we arrive at the final block, Section 3, growth and reproduction. These are the ultimate, undeniable biological traits that a machine, no matter how incredibly advanced, can never ever replicate. This is where the car definitively fails the test. Rule 6 is growth. Simply put, all living organisms grow. Young plants and animals inherently get bigger over time as their cells multiply and expand. I mean, you can bolt a bigger bumper or a flashy new spoiler onto a car, but a toy car is never going to organically grow into a full-sized SUV on its own. And this brilliantly illustrates our final rule. Just look at those little polar bear cubs snuggled up with their mother. This right here is the undeniable, beautiful result of biological reproduction. Rule 7 is reproduction. Living organisms can produce young. They have the internal ability to make more of the exact same kind of organism. A car on an assembly line is completely built by external forces, but living things, they carry the genetic blueprint inside them to naturally replicate themselves and ensure their entire species continues. So, let's rapidly summarize these 7 definitive characteristics we've just uncovered. Remember, to be truly alive, an organism must possess all of these: nutrition, growth, movement, sensitivity, excretion, reproduction, and respiration. This is the ultimate gold standard checklist that separates the breathtaking biology of our polar bears from the mechanical engineering of a sports car. To wrap up Lesson 4.1, I want to leave you with a quick challenge to really cement what you've just learned. Take a second right now, just look around your room or your classroom, find one living thing, and then spot one thing that has never, ever been alive. Got 'em? Now apply this strict 7-part checklist to your non-living object. What specific trait on our list ultimately proves without a shadow of a doubt that it isn't alive? Keep questioning the world around you, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.